yesterday was a very, very, very great day in America for 49 of our great states. Some would say that it was a very, very, very bad day for one state in particular, or maybe a certain collection of 6 states, maybe a certain region that it was a bad day for. But it definitely wasn't a bad day for the region of New York, New Jersey. For, Knicks fans and New York Giants fans that were maybe hate watching a particular game. Any New York sports fan who dislikes New England and the collection of 6 states from New England had a great day yesterday. These Knicks Celtics games always get big headlines. They always get the national TV game. And I think a lot of the time, really all the time that they face each other in the regular season, it is so over-exaggerated. Just it's made into these headliner games for talk show media, And so heading into this game, I didn't really see this as like this major takeaway because this is not the rotation the Knicks are going to see in the playoffs. Right? OG Anunoby was not playing. If OG's not there for the playoffs, then this whole thing doesn't matter. It means injuries have derailed your season anyway. Same thing against Detroit with who they were without. So that's why I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother to do an episode against Detroit. I don't care. So if they lost this game, I wouldn't have been stressing. I just think these are like the perfect types of games for your surface level ESPN watcher, mainstream sport fan to look at and be like, oh, look at this, just stupid stuff that doesn't matter to the players, like bragging rights and bravado or whatever. But what matters for the Knicks is how they match up in a 7-game series against these teams, right? Play style, personnel. If you want to tell me that X team can beat X other team in a playoff series, you have to give me actual analysis. You can't just tell me, well, because they beat them a couple of times in the regular season. You've got to give me schemes. You got to tell me certain coverages. You got to give me real reasons as to why you think a certain team can't beat a certain team. And so I was not super optimistic coming off a 40-point loss to the number 1 seed in the East, going into the number 2 seed in the East to play them without some guys as well. And then the Knicks put on a performance that was one of 2 wins on the day, as we said. And they win 111-99 against the Boston Celtics in Boston in front of a bunch of Knicks fans, because apparently the excuse this time was that the Celtics fans sold their tickets to Knicks fans so they could go watch the Seattle Seahawks put an absolute beating on that joke of a team that they have in the Patriots. So as the Knicks win 111-89, the Seahawks win against the Patriots, what was it, 27-13 or some shit? One of the worst games you could have watched. And I had myself a good night because of that. So let's talk about this 111-89 victory where the Knicks beat the Celtics. Man, it's fun to say that. Been saying it more and more over these last couple of years, folks. Let's talk about it. I think it wouldn't be right to not give a shout out to Jalen Brunson, coming off one of the worst performances of his career, at least shooting wise. I mean, I think everybody in the world knew he was going to bounce back like this. And he goes out there and he scores 31 points, gets 8 assists, shoots 12 for 21 overall, was 4 for 8 from 3, was 8 for 13 from 2, was 3 of 3 at the foul line, and it was a plus 20 in 33 minutes. Right out the gate, you could see a concerted effort to just put this Boston team behind, where Brunson gets off to this red-hot start. I think he scored 15 points in the first, or in the first half maybe, but right in the first quarter, he was getting buckets. Big-time start to the game, just keeping the Knicks one step ahead the entire time, really. And then he kind of gets quiet for a little bit in the middle portion of the game. And there's a point in the second quarter where Boston makes it close, but the Knicks also at the same time, at the top of the second quarter, before Boston made it close again, they get off to this, I think it's an 11-2 run without him on the floor. But he comes back in, and that's when he cools off a bit towards the end of the half. And it's close. And then the third quarter comes, and Brunson at one point, I think it was in the third quarter or sometime in the second half, goes on this absolute, just a torching hot run, scores 10 consecutive points, and just brings the Knicks home. So it wouldn't be right to not credit him first off the bat here, giving him the game ball from last night. Or yesterday afternoon, I should say, because last night was the Super Bowl where the Patriots lost, if you didn't know that by now. 25 game balls now on the season for Jalen. Leads the team by a fuck ton. Great job from him, but let's start with we just started. Let's also now transition to talking about the defense. Because the Knicks defense, man, that was awesome to see. To hold the number 2 offense in the NBA to 89 points in their own home without your best wing defender out there and your best point of attack defender, obviously, that was impressive. And so even after the Detroit game, you look over the last 12 games here for the Knicks, they remain the number 1 defense in the NBA, where they have held opponents to 100 points or less in 6 of the last 8. And in this game, were there some defensive miscues, some late rotations and over helping in the lane a little bit, getting caught at the top of screens and, blitzing 2 on the ball, all of that led to some really open 3-point looks for Boston. Brunson was late a few times on rotations out to 3-point shooters. I think Cat had a couple of possessions there you didn't like, giving too much room or going under on 3-point shooters. And again, some excessive blitzes, 2 on the ball, which also led to some open looks and some other things you didn't love. But for the most part, you saw some really good, connective, disruptive team defense. And remember, some of those open looks they give up are intentional, right? And my favorite defensive sequence of the game, as the dog starts barking and the mic picks it all the way up from down here, my favorite defensive sequence of the game here was actually at the end of the first quarter. Back-to-back weak side rotations that were very sharp, and they led to 2 consecutive Boston turnovers. There's a minute and change left. The first of these 2, it's a Pritchard-Vucevic pick and roll. The Knicks blitz it with Mitch and Diawara. That blitz leaves Vooch open on the roll. So Clarkson, as bad as he's been, and as bad as he kind of was in this game, does a nice job here. Clarkson rotates over from the weak side off of Walsh, who's just not a good shooter, so he's able to rotate off the weak side, and he ties up Vooch on the roll to force the turnover. The next time down for Boston, they're in a blob setup, baseline out of bounds. Vooch gets the ball off the inbound. Clarkson kind of turns his back to his man, Walsh, as Vooch catches the ball. So now Walsh sees him ball watching, gets an easy back cut to the rim, and off that back cut, Brunson picks him up. Brunson rotates now off the weak side in low man help because he's on Harper, who's also a poor shooter. So Brunson rotates off the weak side to tag the back cut, and he ties up Walsh to force a turnover. I thought that was just really good back-to-back possessions of connected team defense, picking up for each other. And another good example of that type of communication, really good one here. This was at the end of the third quarter. It's a Brown-Derek White pick and roll. Boston is trying to get Brunson in action because he's on White. Alvarado makes that read, so he switches Brunson out of the action. Alvarado then switches to Brown off the pick and roll, and he defends him on the post really well to force a turnover. I think it's just very nice now to have that option back, to have somebody scram switch with Brunson just to get him out of the action last second. Now, that's not always going to work on wings because of Alvarado's size. But again, it's nice to have that option again to switch Brunson out of pick and roll. It sucks that Deuce is out because you could kind of double down on it. But thank God for Alvarado having a good point of attack defensive threat like him. And again, I'm usually fine with switching Brunson on. You know, he usually holds his own pretty well for a small. But if you're picking between having Brunson take that switch or having Jose Alvarado take it, you're obviously going to go to Jose Alvarado. Another good possession here early in the fourth quarter. Brown comes off Vooch, his ball screen, and he pulls up. Diawara gets caught, but I thought Cat did a very nice job switching on to Brown. Gets his hands in his face, doesn't let him get a good look off, and he contests it. It's a three-point miss front rim. So as bad as Cat was at times in the game defensively, I thought that was a good possession. I thought Mikal Bridges did a nice job defensively on Jaylen Brown too. Couple of nice low post-up stops. He drew an offensive foul on Vooch out of a DHO. It's kind of more accidental. He ran straight into him and fell down, but nice ball denial to force a turnover late in the second quarter. His off-ball defense, his defense when he's in help, that remains good. Landry Shamet wasn't his greatest offensive game, but he did some nice defensive stuff as he usually does. He had an early steal playing in gap help. Thought he did a nice job on the post a couple of times. He got a nice stop in the fourth quarter. And Alvarado, who we'll talk about in a bit, played good defense. Mitch Robinson, I thought, played good defense. He got some stops in pick and roll. He did a nice job getting a steal on Derek White off of a switch early in the fourth quarter. Mo Diawara played good defense, and I think I have to hand Mo Diawara the game ball from the second unit tonight, or last night, or yesterday. Jesus. Now 2 game balls on the season. Was a great performance from Mo. 10 points, 4 for 4 shooting. He was 2 of 2 from 3, which means he was 2 of 2 from 2. Was a plus 22 in the box score across 27 minutes. Looking really sharp, man. I'm loving the potential that Mo Diawara could bring this team. I think he could be a rotation player in the future. Could he be a rotation player for the postseason? I don't know. Probably not. But maybe next year. Like he's the development's there. You're seeing him grow. He looks really good. The defensive potential, the upside is insane. Some of the lineups that you could be running out here, like the Diawara, Mitch, OG, Hart, Alvarado lineups could be fun to watch. You know, you saw some really good Diawara, Alvarado lineups last night defensively. And then if you add Deuce in there, if he's healthy for the playoffs, interchange him into some of those units, that's a lot of defense. Mikal Bridges, throw him in there. It's a lot of wingspan. It's a lot of switchability. He had some nice switches on Pritchard, on the Brown. The shot has fallen for him ever since his slow start. He's knocking down shots. If that shot is real, you got yourself a wing who could stretch the floor and switch 1 to 5. I don't know how quick and agile he'll be. But again, you're talking about a guy who could give you a few minutes here and there when guys go to the bench, when OG goes to the bench. And I thought the Knicks exploited those cross matches very well when Mo Diawara was on the floor. This has obviously been a topic we've talked about all season, how defenses cross-match the Knicks a lot, right? When the first unit's out there, they do it with Cat and Hart. But Boston was actually running double bigs last night. They had, double bigs, so they were also able to keep a big on Hart, even if Cat had the big as well. But when they only had one of their bigs on the floor, that was often when Mo was on the floor. So they would cross-match Mo Diawara, and I thought when they did that in those lineups, the Knicks did a nice job making them pay. Did a nice job of putting that big into action. Middle of the first quarter, it's a slob play. DHO in the pick and roll between Brunson and Mo. Brunson goes to Mo to put him in action, calls him to screen to get Vooch out of the lane. Boston blitzes the pick and roll with both Vooch and Brown. That opens up the short roll for Mo Diawara. Brunson hits him in the pocket for a finish off the roll. I think it's the very next possession. The Knicks run double drag with Cat and Mo as the two screeners to get Vooch out of the lane again. So Vooch is up on Brunson again off the second drag screen. Mo, because of that, gets wide open on the roll. I think Brunson this time takes it upon himself to score, but Brown trips up and opens up a shot for himself. But just really nice possessions with Mo on the floor to counter those cross matches by getting the big away from the paint to open it up. And I think they did a nice job using Mo to shoot threes. We talk about this all the time. Whether it's Hart or Diawara, whoever it is, that's the weakest shooter on the floor. When they are cross-matched and the big is on them, it's important to take the open looks that the big's going to give you. Exploit drop coverage, exploit unders, exploit, when they help off them. Later in the first quarter, Mo Diawara makes Vucevic pay for playing in drop, knocks down a wide open three off DHO with Mitch. Later in the second quarter, he makes Keita pay for doubling the pick and pop on Brunson. Diawara fades to the weak side. He knocks down a weak side pop three. Brunson makes a nice read. Brunson needs to do that more. We've talked about that. But that's big. Take those threes. This team is not going to win taking 2-point shots when Mo and Hart are out there. If they give you those threes, it is so important to take those threes. So, we're going to talk some more about that. We're going to talk some more about Jose Alvarado's debut when we return from break. Stay with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. So, as we said, the Knicks did a nice job exploiting cross matches when Mo Diawara was out there. Still having issues, and Joe Mazulla does a nice job. He has done a nice job ever since Cat has been here. Still having issues with those Hart Cat cross matches. There were definitely times where it worked where the Knicks would use Josh Hart to screen pick and roll, and they got a couple of good looks out of it. But for the most part, it's still not great, and it still wasn't great in this game. I don't think the Knicks used Towns as much as they should have and put him in action when Boston was running those double big lineups, right? If you're still, they're on Hart with the big, but if they run double bigs, then Cat had Garza on him, for a lot. So it's like you should put Garza up in action to get that switch. And I didn't think they used that as much. I also think because they continue to play Cat and Hart together, Cat just had issues with multiple bodies getting sent off him because they were helping off Hart. You saw Mikal Bridges come around DHO off of Hart. Keita puts 2 on ball with the guard, so Mikal has to take a contested layup. Just Josh Hart not taking the open looks that he was provided when the big was on him, helping off, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All the things we continue to discuss. And again, like, a lot of this can be helped with more streamlined lineups, rotations that lean into 5 out. So you make it much more difficult, and you force the defense to stay home when you're driving, and you force the defense to give you an advantageous switch, or if they don't switch it, okay, now you have a much easier pick and pop game. And I just don't, it's hard for me to sit here and play coach from a podcast studio or the basement. But I'm allowed to question. I just wonder what it is with this first unit that I can't even say Mike Brown because it's been a thing since Tibbs that the Knicks, that their front office loves so much. It's got to be political. Is it the contract that Hart gets? Is it because he's Brunson's best friend and that's something Brunson wants? I don't know. But you do wish they were a little more modern with some of these rotations so that they could maximize their best 2 players. Regardless, I want to finish off here by on a positive note, because Jose Alvarado made his Knicks debut yesterday. And let's see his final line here if I can find it. 12 points, couple steals, a block. He was a plus 13 in 25 minutes. I thought he did some good. I thought he had some rough moments, but some really good defense, as we mentioned. The peskiness was on full display. I mean, he was poking the ball loose, deflections, steals, some really incredible ones. Right when Boston's getting into the half court, he gets a steal on Brown. He's getting steals in the lane, in the pass lanes, leading the Knicks in transition the other way. Also drew an offensive foul, that charge call on Brown. You're still seeing some of not still, but you're seeing some of the stuff we talked about, when the Knicks initially made this trade. In that episode following, we brought up the lack of switchability. Unless obviously it's onto another small, but you saw some of those issues. Early in the fourth quarter, Boston runs what I think looked like some kind of stack pick and roll. Alvarado ends up switching onto one of their wings, and he attacks Alvarado off the dribble, just has no chance to defend the closeout there, and gets beat just too small. So it's definitely a concern, that size in certain lineups, because he's not as big as Deuce is, as small as Deuce can be. He's still got more height on him. So there is a concern there. But overall, I thought he put together an active defensive performance, and I thought he played good offense too. Did a nice job in screen and roll with the Knick bigs. Nice job with Cat. Took a couple of open threes to give him 3-point looks off of Cat's ball screens, and some good pick and roll with Mitch, and a couple of floaters out of them. One of them came off a rescreen, like a pitch back, gets in the lane. knocks down a floater, ran a Spain pick and roll with Mitch and Shamit. So a good debut for Jose Alvarado, and I'm excited to see his Garden debut, which I think is on Tuesday. That's tomorrow night. So you got 2 more games before the All-Star break. Unfortunately, these 2 games are it's a back-to-back set. So you're at the Garden on Tuesday against the Pacers, and then it's Philly on Wednesday. You're in Philly on Wednesday. So that is the unfortunate part, but that's going into an All-Star break where the Knicks will get a much-needed rest. Again, we didn't cover the Detroit game. Just didn't really feel like it. It was a nothing game to cover. One of those games you flushed, weren't healthy, didn't really care. But Mikal and Huck Porty were the 2 Knicks who were the least worst in that game. So that's those are the game balls from that game. But that's it. We are going to wrap this one up here with our trivia question. And that trivia question is... here it is. Which 2 players are the most recent first-round picks to suit up for both the Knicks and Celtics? All right, which 2 players are the most recent first-round picks to suit up for both the Knicks and Celtics? So let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. I appreciate it, everybody. Anybody who tunes in, do appreciate it. Fun win. Fun day. Knicks beat the Celtics. New England doesn't have a good 24 hours. I'll see you all soon. I appreciate it. Later. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.